Ooh, don't mean to clear my throat right at the start of the stream. Welcome to the stream. Tuesday night. Gonna be reading some Higurashi. Let me pull up the game immediately. The intention is to hopefully maybe finish the connecting fragments section here. But I am, and I apologize in advance, coming in with a little bit lesser energy tonight. I already feel it. I can feel it. So on the off chance that we read for a bit, I read for a bit, you listen for a bit. On the odd chance of that happening, and I have to part ways before we reach the end of the connecting fragments, I'll have to apologize, but I'd rather not read when I'm like, I'd rather not stream, but I also rather not read when I'm just completely sapped of energy due to things. But we'll see. It's not like I'm starting super late, so maybe we'll have the chance to do this. If for some reason we don't finish, then we'll for sure obviously make it up. Probably a little later this week, depending on how much is left. Maybe I just sneak in like a really small one on like, I don't know, tomorrow even, maybe Friday, something like that. I don't know if saving, I don't know if I brought this up before, but because of the way this arc is structured, I don't even know if you have to technically save after you've been reading them, but I don't know how it works out. So we've read this. I think we left off doing this. Yes, I remember the cliffhanger slash not real fake real cliffhanger. Drunken boss's true identity. Gone with the ashes. Receipt and ticket. A 6 on the dice. The conspiracy has started to move. Instant report 1 and 2. A fragment of Tokyogushi. A fragment of Miyatsukushi. Reversing the gears, and then a fragment of Miyatsukushi Beta? Capital B? Drunken boss's true identity, whatever the hell that means. Let's go. Sheesh. I chased my drowsiness away with a can of coffee while driving through a downtown area in the dead of night, dimly lit by the streetlights. Also, first night, reading with the new glasses. This is a test. What would we deem it? Stress test on the glasses here. Actually, not that much different of a prescription apparently, but okay. Away with a can of coffee while driving through a downtown area in the dead of night, dimly lit by the streetlights. There we go, I found myself. Even though I was planning to head back home and deal with the piling laundry, running the washing machine in the middle of the night will annoy the neighbors, but I was long overdue for a change of clothes. Even though I've been working so hard that I haven't had time to stop at home, a lady neglecting her hygiene would call her abilities into question. With that in mind, I quickly wrapped up my work and then checked the timetable for the last train ride as I was about to head home. But unfortunately, I received a call from the bar where Maino-san was at. It was the shopkeeper, saying this man is passed out drunk, please pick him up. Aren't you too old to be getting blackout drunk? Come on. Although, Maino-san himself had apparently asked for me by name, so maybe I should at least be pleased that he trusts me enough to handle situations like this. Or should I scold him for taking advantage of my position? I was feeling rather conflicted. While thinking it over, I noticed a store sign come into view. Car noise. Oh, Chief Inspector Manai! Drunkenly. Jesus. Sound like it. You came to pick me up. Thank you so much. Is that really the first thing out of your mouth? What are you even doing here? I parked the car on the side of the road and got out, then rushed over to Mino-san sitting in front of the store, with an astonished expression on my face. His suit jacket was laying on the ground all crumpled up. There was no tie around his neck, and his shirt looked shabby too. It was like seeing a drunken father. When I thought about how I was going to have to drive him home, a gloomy feeling came over me, and I wanted to hold my head.
こんな遅くにわざわざお迎えなんて痛み入るな。
No, no, I'm so terribly sorry for making you come pick me up this late at night. I just gotta say, my dumbass was about to make some kind of joke about, oh, why doesn't he just call an Uber or something? I'm so stupid, honestly.
ご主人様、そろそろお帰りの時間でございます。なんてか。
Bartender, it's about time for me to head home.
バカ言ってないで、早く立ってください。
Don't be stupid. Hurry up and get on your feet already.
こんなところに座り込んで陣取ってたら、お店の営業妨害です。
Sitting here like that is a nuisance for the shop.
それに、あんまり騒がしいと、近くのおまわりさんが来ちゃいますよ。
And if you keep making a scene like this, the police will be called here soon enough.
やれるもんなら連れて行ってもらおうじゃん。
Oh, I dare them to take me away.
警察官をしょっぴいて恥かいても俺は知らねえからな。
Not my problem if I embarrass the police officers who come for me. No, you're definitely the one who should be embarrassed here. After muttering that to myself, I decided to just say, okay, okay, for the time being. Trying to treat a drunkard like a sober man is just a massive headache waiting to happen.
大体な。俺を誰だと思ってんだ。
Just who do you think I even am?
泣く子も黙る。警視正様だぞ。
I'm an intimidating police superintendent here.
警視総監の次の次の次に偉い階級なんだぞ。
Chief of the MPD is the next rank above me, you know.
偉いのはよくわかっていますから。これ以上警察の威信を下げるような発言は控えてください。
Yes, I understand how respectable that is, so please refrain from making any remarks that might harm the dignity of the police department.
こんなところをマスコミの人とかに嗅ぎつけられたらことですよ。
What would happen if the mass media saw something like this?
マスコミが怖くて殺が務まるかってんの。
You're not fit for the force if you're afraid of the mass media.
逆にこっちが冤罪ふっかけて牢屋にぶち込んでやらい。
On the other hand, I'll just charge him with false accusations and toss him in prison.
ダメだこりゃ。始末に追えない。
No good. He's getting out of control. I seriously thought about just leaving him here and going home, but that would just make things difficult in the future, so I let out a deep sigh. Anyway, I've been working in the public relations office for a while now and had a lot of respect for Mino-san, but this incident today might be putting an end to that. Maybe I should refuse to work any overtime for a while.
そもそも、なんでここまでお飲みになられたんですか？
Why were you drinking all the way out here in the first place?
接待慣れして俺は酒に強いって前に豪語されていたくせに。
You bragged before about being good at wining and dining and a strong drinker.
飲みすぎるといろんな人に迷惑かかるっておっしゃっていたのは前野さんですよ。
Yet here you are, getting excessively drunk and being a nuisance, Mino-san.
まあまあ、警部さん。
Come on, Chief Inspector.
今日だけは勘弁してやってくださいな。
Please cut him some slack, just for today. After saying that, the old man who had been looking after Mino-san until now, apparently the shopkeeper, cut in with a bitter smile on his face and tried to calm me down. Apparently this old man had a close relationship with Mino-san.
今日だけって。ですが。
Just for today, but...
前野さんがこんなに酔うのは本当に久しぶりでね。
It's been a long time since I've seen Mino-san get this drunk.
だいたいとんでもなく嫌なことがあった時なんですよ。
He's generally only like this when something really terrible happened.
これくらいのうさばらしは多めに見てやってください。
Sneeze, excuse me. He's generally only like this when something really terrible happened. Please overlook a momentary distraction like this.
嫌なこと？
Something terrible? Ah. After hearing that, a thought came to me. There was an inquiry meeting the other day in response to an investigation committee report. It was 2 years ago. There was an incident where a young boy was kidnapped on his way home. As expected, the boy's parents received a call that night demanding ransom. And after making contact with the parents, the police sought an agreement with the mass media to keep the investigation confidential so they could focus their attention on searching for the hostage and arresting the perpetrator. However, they couldn't grasp any clues, and the culprit disappeared immediately after the ransom was handed over. On top of that, they never found the young hostage, and the investigation completely stalled. And then, just the other day, 2 years after the incident has passed, a man arrested for some other misdemeanor confessed to the kidnapping during questioning. He said he killed the boy immediately after escaping and buried him in the graveyard of a temple in Tokyo. Based on that information, investigators headed to the scene and discovered skeletal remains just as the subject testified. The curtain closed on this 2-year-old incident in the worst possible way.
犯人逮捕に時間がかかったのは警察の手落ちと言われても仕方がない。
There's no point in arguing that the police made an oversight. It took too long to catch the culprit.
だが問題になったのは報道協定のタイミングだった。
But what did become an issue was the timing of the press agreement. After that, an investigative committee was assembled, mainly from the personnel department of the National Police Agency, for the sake of finding out the reason they failed to adequately investigate this kidnapping/murder case. According to their report, nearby residents of the city where the culprit fled to had apparently identified him as a suspicious person very early on. In other words, they were asserting that if information had been blocked by the press agreement, or if the agreement was promptly overturned, it may have been possible to not only arrest the criminal but save the hostage's life too. And so, the mass media criticized the police investigation system, saying their mismanagement of the press agreement is what allowed the criminal to escape. And then, even amongst the police, it became part of the chorus to blame the person who gave the order, and Mino-san was being singled out at the inquiry meeting as the one who submitted the press agreement to the chief cabinet secretary. Mino-san likely enacted the information block early on to prioritize saving the hostage, and delayed the termination of the agreement even after the ransom was delivered in order to avoid psychologically provoking the criminal. But, since this ended in the worst possible outcome, he was facing criticism that he made the wrong decision. Thinking about how absurd and unreasonable that was, I felt completely disconsolate.
落ち込んでいないふりしていたけど、やっぱり辛かったんだ。
He was pretending to not be feeling down about it, but it must have been painful. Of course, it wasn't about getting a poor review. I'd like to think I'd learned over the past month that he wasn't the sort of person to care about that. So the reason he was so depressed he needed to drown it with alcohol was likely because he was thinking about the feelings of the victim's family.
前野さん、帰りますよ。
Mino-san, let's get you home.
立てますか？
Can you stand? After saying that, I tossed my arm behind Mino-san's back, and with the help of the shopkeeper, we got him back on his feet. Then, I opened the passenger side door, 2 of us sat him down on the seat, and went to pick up his suit lying on the ground and wipe the dirt off of it. Rather than a wallet, I found his police notebook in his inside jacket pocket. Sheesh, you can't just leave this out for someone to steal it.
あれ？
Huh? When I suddenly looked at the photo in his police notebook, I was shocked. It seemed to be a picture of a young Mino-san in his early days as a detective. And?
お父さん。
Dad? There was no way I could mistake my biological father. It was Yusuke Manai. My dad was standing right beside Mino-san. I thanked the old man from the store, then started my car. The national highways in the downtown area are always packed during the daytime, but traffic was rather sparse this late in the night. If things stayed like this, I'd be able to reach Mino-san's house before dawn. I gripped the steering wheel and carefully watched the traffic lights and oncoming vehicles while driving down the road, and took a quick glance at the passenger seat. Z's. Mino-san was sunken into his seat, snoring while sleeping soundly. I figured he'd lose his glasses if he left them on, so I pulled them off his face and slipped them into my breast pocket.
やっぱり。
So that's it. Seeing him without glasses, I felt something connect from deep within my memories. He was always wearing those thick-framed glasses, so I never noticed until now, but I remember meeting this man before I even became a police officer. But where on earth was it? Where did I meet Mino-san? That's right, I remember. There was a young detective who sometimes accompanied Dad when he came home after a late night out drinking. Dad was older than him, but for some reason he consistently addressed this man with honorific speech. I always thought that was weird. But Mom told me not to ask him too much about police work when he's at home, so we never knew why that was. And the answer to that? Yes. As of today, it finally felt like I understood. Minai-san. Suddenly, Mino-san murmured something in his sleep. Mino-san was older than me and of a higher rank, so he had no reason to address me using san, which meant the Minai-san he was referring to was, no doubt. It's alright, Minai-san.
あいつはあんたの娘は俺がしっかり偉くしてみせますから。
She's your daughter, so I'll make sure she succeeds.
ほんとあんたにそっくりで。
Really, she's just like you.
Mino-san.
Mino-san. My eyes were getting heated, so I started blinking more than usual. The neon signs of the city shining in through the windshield suddenly started to blur together. Alright, what's the next one? Gone with the Ashes. Gone with the Ashes. I entered the break room and headed to the back, then gestured Mino-san to the empty sofa and took a seat in the folding chair across from it. That moment, the suffocating feeling I'd been accumulating suddenly released all at once, and the strength drained from my entire body. I was tired and nervous. This may have been the first time in my life I had to be so careful about my attitude and remarks. I don't even remember what questions they asked.
お疲れさん。
Good work!
どうだ？初めての広報プレゼンの自己採点は。
So, how would you rate your first public relations presentation?
0点です。
0 points.
ほう。謙虚というか、えらく弱気だな。
Huh? How modest and excessively timid.
初めてという割になかなか度胸が座って、説明もわかりやすくまとまっていたと思うんだが。
You seem to have pretty strong nerves considering it was your first time. I think your explanations were easy to understand.
でも突っ込まれどころが満載で、まだまだ調査不足でした。
But the questions were hard-hitting, and the investigation process was far from adequate.
前野さんがあそこでフォローしてくださらなかったらどうなっていたことか。
Mino-san, what would have happened if you weren't there to chime in?
まあそういう意味では満点には程遠いか。
Well, in that sense, it was a far cry from a perfect score.
大負けに負けてギリギリ量ってところかな。
But maybe just a good result is a success on its own.
ありがとうございます。
Thanks. I can only interpret Mino-san's praise as flattery, but for the time being, I turned to him and bowed my head. But no matter how I looked at it, it wasn't a good result, or even passable. If I were the one doing the grading, I'd give it failing marks and demand supplementary training.
情けない。
How pathetic. A sense of introspection and self-loathing came over me, so I clung to my head. I wanted to turn back time and try again many times before, but I'm not sure if I've ever felt that as strongly as I did today. Up until now, I've always tried to present a fearless personality when I enter the big stage. But I was reminded once again that I was still immature and struggled with situations outside my expectations. If I had been alone on that stage like we originally planned, I might have broken down in tears. There are people out there with far more knowledge and experience than me, scholarly people with deep insights and analytical skills. I never realized how difficult it is to offer explanation and make suggestions for people like that.
心のどこかでうぬぼれていたんだと思います。
I think somewhere in my heart I was being conceited.
研究所の所長と総務部長が絶賛してくれたから その勢いでいけるかなって。
The research director and general manager praised me so much I got carried away.
すみませんでした。
I'm sorry.
そんなに落ち込むな。
Don't be so glum.
プロファイリング分析の現場導入についてはほとんど反対意見や不足点への指摘がなかったじゃないか。
Pretty much not a single person dissented or found fault with the idea of introducing profiling analysis to investigations.
犯罪心理学と毎日向き合っている連中相手にそこまでやれたんだ。もっと胸を張れ。
You're able to get through to people who deal with criminal psychology on a daily basis, so be a little more proud. My no-san handed me a can of coffee he'd bought from the vending machine as he said that. It was cold, so when I grabbed it, I held it against my forehead to relieve the burning feeling inside my head and start to calm down a little.
まあ連中も単純にプロファイリング分析の試験導入の話だと思って割と楽観的に構えていたようだしな。
Well, they're looking at it as just an introductory profiling analysis test, so they seem optimistic.
テレビ局が介入してくるなんて予想外だったんだろうさ。
The unexpected part was their disagreement with getting TV stations involved.
確かに難色を示されるとは覚悟しておりましたが、まさかここまでとは思いませんでした。
I was definitely prepared to face disapproval, but I never imagined they'd go so far.
科警研の方々は最新の犯罪知識や情報と日々関わっている分、メディアの力を十分に理解なさっていると期待していただけに、正直意外な思いです。
The NRIPs. The NRIPS people are constantly involved with the latest criminal knowledge and information, so I would have expected them to have a thorough understanding of the power of the media. Honestly, it was quite shocking.
それともまだテレビ媒体は低俗なものとみなされているのでしょうか。
Or maybe TV media is still considered lowbrow?
それもあるだろうが、一番の問題はテレビに出せば失敗した際に言い訳ができないってことだろう。
That's part of it, but the biggest problem is probably that once it's out there on TV, you can't make excuses if it fails.
初めのうちは小規模な、そして成功率の高い事件で試験運用することで点数を稼ぎ、信用度を得た上で徐々に現場へと浸透させる。それが彼らの理想だ。
Their ideal modus operandi is earning points by starting with small-scale trials and getting credibility on highly successful cases, and gradually spreading it across the field.
しかしテレビで流されるとなると、どうしても話が大掛かりなものになってしまう。
But as soon as it gets TV coverage, it'll inevitably become a huge story.
成功すれば評判は一気に上がるが、失敗すれば今まで慎重に研究を重ねてきたものが全部ぶち壊しになるかもしれない。
If it succeeds, your reputation will shoot up all at once, but if it fails, then everything you've been carefully studying all this time can be destroyed.
成功した時の後悔よりもリスクの方を警戒する。原点主義の研究畑の人間にはよくあるマイナス思考だよ。
Being more wary of the risks instead of focusing on the effects of success is a common negative thought pattern of people in the demerit-based research field.
そんな顔をするな。
Don't make that face.
そもそも考え方や価値観のズレというよりも文化そのものが違うんだ。
You shouldn't view it as a misalignment of values and ideas. It's a completely different culture.
法医学の分野は法学の分野内と言いつつも、実際には医学や心理学の類、科警研の職員と会った奴らはみんな最初その違いに戸惑うらしいぞ。
While the field of forensic medicine is said to be under the field of the law, it's actually a form of medical science and psychology. So the folks I've met at NRIPS were confused at first.
実際私もちょっと驚きました。
Right. Actually, at first I was a little surprised too. NRIPS, the National Research Institute of Police Science. They're an organization affiliated with the National Police Agency, responsible for developing forensic technology and investigation theory necessary to conduct scientific investigations in order to counter increasingly sophisticated and intelligent criminals. And this time, thanks to being introduced to the Secretariat of the Commissioner of the National Police Agency, who just happened to attend the same university as me, I was able to ask for researchers to be assigned on a certain task. Based on material I provided the other day, we would conduct a trial operation of profile analysis in the field, and the progress of the operation would be televised with the help of key TV stations.
プロファイリング分析の捜査内容をマスコミに公開する？
Disclose the contents of profiling analysis to the mass media?
はい。
Yes.
現在未解決のまま迷宮入りになりかけている事件をサンプルにして、その犯人の存在と足跡を調査する経緯と手法を問題のない範囲内でテレビ局側に提供します。
We are currently conducting a trial operation on a cold case, so there should be no problem providing the TV stations with the background of the investigation methodology and the high-level footprints of the criminal.
そこでこのマニュアルを導入することで、捜査がいかに効率化されたものになるかをアピールする番組を制作・放映してもらうのです。
So we can produce and broadcast a program that shows how efficient investigations can be after enacting this manual.
それによって世間的な認知度が向上すれば、全国の警察関係者たちもプロファイリングに対して関心を寄せて、導入に前向きな姿勢になってくれるのではないか。
If this raises public awareness, police officers around the country will be interested in what profiling has to offer, and they'll be more willing to try using it.
そう私ども広報室は考えました。
That is what we at the Public Relations Office have been thinking.
その上での今回のご提案です。
And that was the foundation for this proposal. The researchers participating in the presentation were stunned when they heard that, and made no effort to hide their confusion. Introducing profiling analysis to on-site investigations was something NRIPS had already considered many times before, but with nothing to prove its efficacy, it was always brushed aside. Moreover, since there are very few experts capable of teaching the methodology, they've been putting off the idea for a long time. But the other day, a female police officer working for the Public Relations Office freely provided them with a manual that could be used as an instructional reference. So introducing it into on-site investigations once again became a topic of discussion. Up until that point, it was something that NRIPS could hardly even dream of, so they weren't quick to agree with the idea of broadcasting its contents on TV.
試験導入ならばテレビやマスメディアを介入させるのは少々大げさではないかね。
Isn't it a little too soon to get the press and TV involved with something still in a preliminary trial? There's a missing I in with?
データ収集を主目的に置いて組織はシンプルにまとめた方が良いと思うが。
I think it would be better to keep this simple and focus on data collection.
それに警察の捜査技術を公開するのはリスクが高い。
Plus, publishing police investigation methods is taking a major risk.
犯罪者に裏をかかれる危険性についても考慮すべきだろう。
You should be mindful of the danger this presents in allowing the criminals to outwit us.
確かに皆様のご懸念はもっともだと思います。
Indeed, I think you all have valid concerns.
しかしこれまで意見交流会などでもプロファイリング分析についての言及が何度となく行われましたが、実際の事件現場にて導入された例は皆無です。
However, profiling analysis has been discussed many times in meetings up until now, but there are still no examples of its use in an actual case.
また信用度の基礎となるデータを収集しようにも、現場捜査員たちの賛同と協力を得ることができず、宙に浮いた理論となっておりました。
And even if we wish to collect data to gauge the merit of the technique, the theory will be left hanging unless we can gain the cooperation of field investigators.
それはやはり知識や技術の有用性よりもイメージの欠如が一番の要因だったのではないでしょうか。
In the end, the lack of a compelling depiction may be a larger hurdle than the lack of knowledge and techniques. Based on reading the papers and manuals on profiling analysis, it was hard to tell how efficient it actually was and difficult to grasp how useful it might be. Also, an experienced detective has the intuition and skills they've gained over time that increase their efficiency, but that doesn't mean they'll understand how to fit it into their methods. With that in mind, even after collecting data in this trial operation, investigators presented with the results may not understand how to utilize it and may decide to just put it off. But what if profiling analysis is actually introduced in the field investigators via video documentary? At that point, an experienced detective would likely be able to understand which points are important and how it differs from conventional investigation, and it would allow them to make their own modifications to tweak it to better fit the image of their own investigation methods. In other words, to make a mathematical analogy, this program exists to show examples of the use of certain formulas and theorems to people who would otherwise have no idea where and when to use them, and a video is the easiest method to understand.
確かにそれも一つの方法とは言えるでしょう。
Indeed, you could say that's one way to do it.
しかしそれにしてもなぜあなた方広報室がそんな企画を。
But why are people from the public relations office planning such a project?
あなたたちには今回何のメリットもない話じゃありませんか。
This should be no benefit for you guys, right?
そうです。
That's right.
それにそもそもそういった番組企画を立てるという行為は明らかに候補としての職務を逸脱していると思います。
Planning a project like this is clearly outside the scope of duties for public relations in the first place.
一体あなたたちはそれによって何を得るおつもりなのですか？
Just what on earth did you get out of this?
それは
Oh, well,
ああ、その点につきましては説明が不足しておりました。
right. Seems we haven't sufficiently explained that point.
今回の企画はむしろ警察庁長官官房長、ひいては警察庁本部からの提案を現場に浸透させるための方策とご理解ください。
Please understand this project is coming from the Secretary of the Commissioner of the NPA, and on top of that, a proposal has been pushed from NPA HQ as a measure to get this information to the investigators in the field.
広報室はその意向を組んで皆様にご相談申し上げているだけなのです。
The Public Relations Office is simply keeping that in mind and having a discussion with all of you. Maino-san, who had been sitting quietly beside me, cut in at the perfect time to save me from fumbling for the right words. And then he gave me a look before continuing.
プロファイリング分析は今後の科学捜査にとって非常に役立つ捜査理論になると以前より評価されてきました。
Profiling analysis has long been regarded as a useful investigative technique in future forensics.
ただ現場の方々は今までの勘と経験に頼ったやり方を変えるだけのメリットがあるのか、あるならその証拠をよこせとの一点張りで試験運用すらままなりませんでした。
But would the people in the field with experience and intuition see the merit in changing their approach? Not without proof, which they'd never even see without this trial operation.
長官官房長もそういった状況を打破することこそが必要と考えておりましたので、今回の企画ご提案と相なったわけです。
The Secretary of the Commissioner felt it was necessary to break that deadlock, which synergizes perfectly with that proposal.
ええ、それは所長と総務部長より聞き及んでおります。
Yes, we've heard from the director and the general manager.
ただ、広報がなぜ官房長のサポートを？
But why is public relations even supporting the commissioner?
長官官房からのご依頼は通常ならば制作企画から通達いただくものと理解しておりましたが。
I understand that the secretariat would notify you about project planning, but still.
適材活用ですよ。
It's about using the right person for the job.
ここにいる南警部はもともと現場の刑事でした。
Chief Inspector Manai here was originally a crime scene detective.
もっと遡りますと、数年前に欧米で研究されているプロファイリング分析の存在を最初に警察庁の意見交換会で紹介したのが現在の茨城県警捜査一課長本庄警視。
Or going back even further, first person to bring up profile analysis during an NPA discussion meeting a few years back was the current section chief of the 1st Investigation Division in Ibaraki Prefecture, Inspector Honjo.
そして彼女はその本庄一課長の下で約3年間働き、推薦組として選抜された際には彼の口添えがあったほどの逸材です。
And she worked directly under Section Chief Honjo for 3 years, to such an extent that he was willing to select her for the recommended group. As soon as Maino-san mentioned Honjo-san's name, the eyes of the researchers transformed from disdain and distrust to a hint of interest and curiosity. In fact, I didn't know about it until he told me my former boss, Honjo-san, was one of the nation's most respected experts on profile analysis. Honjo-san had actually published papers on improvements to criminal investigation methodologies and shared them at NPA-sponsored exchange meetings, campaigning for their necessity.
そんなに偉い人だったんだ。
I had no idea it was so famous. I keenly realized what a blessed environment I had lived in. In fact, if I hadn't had the opportunity to work under Honjo-san, I wouldn't know anything about profiling, even today. Just by my thoughts racing, Maino-san looked at the changed expression on the researchers, then leaned forward and continued.
実際彼女が皆さんにご提供申し上げた資料は、その本庄氏が携わってきた事件記録が元になっており、彼の許可と協力なしには成し得ないものでした。
In fact, the material she provided to all of you was based on records from incidents Honjo-san was involved with. This project couldn't have been done without his approval and cooperation.
この点からも、ここにいる南警部が現場捜査員たちとの強いつながり、 それも有力な人材とのコネクションを現在も所持していることを信用してもらえるかと思います。
Based on those facts, and with Chief Inspector Manai's strong ties with field investigators, I think you can trust that she has the right connections with talented people.
故に皆さんの意向や方針を伝達する仲介役としては最も適任ではないかと考えた長官の指示で本企画の担当者とさせていただいた次第なのです。
Thus, I thought according to the Secretariat's instructions and decided she was the most suitable person to act as an intermediary to convey our intentions, and placed her in charge of this project.
確かに現場の捜査員たちの反発をいかにして防ぐかが我々の一番大きな課題でした。
It's true that our biggest challenge is preventing the investigators in the field from reacting negatively.
そのつてを持っている人に仲介してもらえるのは非常に心強いです。
So, it's very encouraging to know that the mediator is someone with that experience.
そして先ほど広報室としてのメリットとおっしゃいましたが、
And you asked earlier about what benefit this was to the Public Relations Office.
我々はご存知の通り警察の各機関の活動内容や捜査情報を集約し、それを特定あるいは不特定の方面へと差し向けるのが本来の職分です。
As you all know, our primary responsibility is to aggregate investigation and activity details from each agency and direct them in the appropriate direction.
故に我々にとっては警察庁長官官房長が打ち出したプロファイリング分析を現場へと導入させるという方針表明を効率的に現場へと浸透させることが今回の役割。
Therefore, it is our role to take the Secretary of the Commissioner's announcement that profiling analysis should be introduced to the field and proliferate it in the most effective way possible.
それに従っただけのことですので、特にメリット、まして利益的なものを求めるものではないと考えております。
It's just following orders. In terms of actual merit, I don't think there's any personal profit in it.
他に何かご不安を抱かれているものはありますか？
So, do you have any other concerns?
我々としては同じ警察庁の仲間ですから、できる限りそれらを解消するお手伝いをしたいと考えております。
We're all members of the same national police agency, so we'd like to do as much as possible to eliminate any problems.
どうぞご遠慮なくおっしゃってください。
Please feel free to speak up if there's anything else.
いや、よくわかりました。
No, I completely understand.
そういった疑念を取り払って考えれば、確かに今回の企画は科警研にとっても良い話です。
And if we can eliminate those doubts, this project will certainly make a good story for NRIPS. After saying that, the researcher dressed in a white coat sitting in the head seat smiled and nodded while turning to the others to get their agreement. Looking at the name tag, his last name was Soma. I later learned that from Mino-san, that he was a powerful man with an authoritative role in forensic medicine.
この企画につきましては、これから研究所の幹部を交えた上で内容を吟味し、後日改めてご返事させていただきます。
We will discuss the details of this project with the executives at the Institute and give you a formal reply afterwards.
本日はありがたいご提案と長時間のご説明をいただきまして、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much for taking the time explaining these things and offering your valuable suggestions. The director politely thanked Mino-san and myself, but I was the one who should be grateful to them for offering us an opportunity to explain things, so I quickly bowed back to him.
本当に助かりました。
Seriously, you were a big help.
前野さんが助け舟を出してくれなかったらどうなっていたか。
Mino-san, who knows where I would have been if you weren't there to offer me a life raft?
俺は事実を言っただけだぞ。
All I did was tell them the facts.
それに本当の意味でお前を後押ししてくれたのはむしろ本庄さんだ。
Besides, if there's anyone that helped you, it's Hanjo-san.
今度は改めてお礼を言っておけよ。
So please give him your thanks next time you see him.
はい。
Right. In cases like that, it's important to remember that personal strength and talent are less important for winning the trust of others than personal connections and titles. I used to feel an inferiority complex about that, but that's undeniably the truth. So now, I'm grateful for all the people who have helped me to try to avoid being overconfident myself. I engraved self-discipline into my heart so that I never forget that attitude.
今日はこのまま寮に直帰していいぞ。
You can head straight home for today.
ここしばらくあまり寝てないんだろ。
You haven't been getting much sleep these days, have you?
あ、でも疲れなのはむしろ。
Oh, but if anyone here is tired, it's...
俺のことは気遣わなくてもいい。
No need to worry about me.
気まぐれに首を突っ込んで その場の思いつきで勝手に口を挟んでいただけだからな。
I was just poking my nose in on a whim and acting on impulse.
ちょうどいい憂さ晴らしだったよ。
Just finding something amusing to dispel my troubles.
でも私、前野さんのフォローがなければ、広報がなんで口出ししてくるって言われた時、とっさに反論ができなかったと思います。
But, Mino-san, if you hadn't followed up for me there, I don't think I could have come up with an agreement or an argument on the spot for why public relations should have been involved.
本当にありがとうございます。
Seriously, thank you so much.
虎の意を借りるのは狐の得意技だ。
Borrowing the power of a tiger is a fox's signature move.
王道を言うお前さんには真似は無理。というか、覚えなくてもいいことさ。
For someone like you who walks the path of righteousness, that's impossible to imitate, so there's no need to remember it. Mino-san tossed his empty can of coffee into a nearby trash can. The throw was well controlled and accurate, thanks to his time playing baseball.
まあ、あとは結果待ちだな。
Well, all that's left is to wait on the results.
それほど時間をかけないと言ってたし、週明けには返答をもらえるだろう。
They said it wouldn't take too long, so I'm expecting a reply by the beginning of next week.
それまでは今日のことを忘れて、いつもの仕事に励めよ。
Until then, just forget about today and keep working hard like you always do.
どうなんでしょうか。
Are you sure about that?
あの資料と今日の説明で科警研は動いてくれるでしょうか。
Will that material in today's discussion be enough to make NRIPS take action?
そうだな。俺の見たところ五分五分。
Well, as I see it, we've got 50-50 odds.
いやー、四分六分といったところか。
No, maybe closer to 40-60.
成功の可能性が4ですか？
Is that a 40% chance of success?
不満か？
Is that disappointing?
まあ、それでも最後まで質問が絶えなかったことを鑑みれば上々の出来だった。
Even so, that's pretty good considering the constant inquiry until the last moment.
お前さんはよくやったと思うぞ。
I think you did a good job.
すみません。
Sorry.
あ？
Huh?
広報室にとって今回のプロジェクト提案はほとんど見入りがないものと分かっています。
I realize this project bears little fruit for the public relations office.
逆に余計な作業を増やしてしまうことになるかもしれません。
In fact, it may even unnecessarily expand our workload.
なのに長官官房長や科警研の偉い人に口添えをしてもらって。
And yet, big shots like the Secretariat and NRIPS are willing to put in a good word. The initial motivation for this was the case from 3 months ago, because I wanted to investigate the case of Nagisa Osaki-san's death and find out more about the key witness, Reina Ryugu. I realized it was based on my own lingering regrets, but when I happened to contact Fujita-kun a few days ago and heard the progress on the case, it was unbearable. The incident still held mysteries the police couldn't comprehend, and though I'd like to be involved, I'm stuck here doing busy work. This case is not over yet, and even now, there might still be something I can do. I want to do my best to respond to the feelings of the late Ozaki-san. When I reached that decision, I assembled a plan that clearly deviated from the Public Relations Office's usual line of work. Honestly, I was prepared for Mino-san to push back when I first submitted the proposal to him. Still, I put all my heart into it and planned to bet on that chance, even if the possibility of success was only 1%. But, surprisingly enough, Mino-san approved of the plan right from the get-go. In fact, he even spoke to the commissioner and the director of NRIPS about it, turning my pipe dream of a project into something feasible.
ただでさえ多忙な立場の人なのに。
Even though he's always so busy. And I know the reason Mino-san cares about me so much. That's why I was grateful for the depths of his feelings, but more than that, I was sorry.
なあ、未来。
Hey, Minai.
お前、肺吹き法って知ってるか？
Are you familiar with the cupellation process?
肺吹き法？
Cupellation?
戦国時代とかで行われていた伝統的な金の精錬法のことですか？
You mean the traditional gold refining process from back in the Warring States period? The topic came completely out of the blue, so I felt lost as I answered. Mino-san said, "You're very knowledgeable," before continuing his story.
鉱山から掘り出された金の鉱石は一見ただの石ころとほとんど変わりない。
When gold ore is first excavated from a mine, at first glance it almost looks like an ordinary stone.
それを砕いてふるいにかけ、煮えたぎった鉛の中に放り込んで溶かす。
You have to crush it, sift it, then melt it in boiling lead.
そしてその溶けた液状の混合金属を灰と混ぜ合わせることで、鉛と金を分離させる。
Then, the molten metal mixture is combined with ash to separate the lead from the gold.
誰が考え出したか知らんが大したやり方だ。
I'm not sure who came up with it, but it's an incredible method.
灰はそれ単体では土ぼこりと同じくどこにでもあるものだ。
Ash is like dust, simply everywhere.
だがそれがなければ、金は鉛と混じり合ったまま、本来の存在価値を発揮することができない。
But without it, there would be no way to separate the gold from lead, so it would be impossible to demonstrate the value of its existence.
俺たちスタッフはその灰だと昔教えられたことがあった。
They used to say that we staff officers were like the ash. Any organization has people in important positions who are more or less ambitious and upward rising, with their own selfish desires. Those people try to make others recognize their great abilities and the value of their existence, sometimes even taking risks to try to achieve something. But if their selfish actions are taken too long and taken too far and become self-righteous, or even risk becoming tyrannical, in some cases it can be detrimental to the organization. It's easy to deny them and reject that, but shutting them down in an overly high-pressure way can offend the person and reduce their motivation, ultimately losing out on some of the utility they could have brought. In which case, it would be better to keep them under control and steer them in the right direction. Assembling the tactics and strategies behind a combat unit, while considering the strengths and weaknesses of your staff and leading them to apply those skills effectively, that was the role of the staff officer.
実際そういった才能のある連中と代替して同じことができるほどスタッフは偉いわけじゃない。
In fact, those staff aren't talented enough to take over for those talented people and do their jobs.
だから引け目もあるし、命令を下す資格があるかと言われたら反論できない。
That's why they develop inferiority complexes. You can't argue back when questioned if you're eligible to give orders.
かといって、自分の能力のみを信じる彼らの好き勝手にやらせていたら、それはもう組織とは呼べん。
But if you allow people who only believe in their own abilities to do whatever they please, it's no longer an organization.
第一本来の能力も発揮できないだろう。
First and foremost, you'll no longer be able to exert your original ability.
確かにその通りです。
Yes, it's exactly as you say.
しかし逆に、そのスタッフが下り顔でふんぞり返ったり、傲慢に見下した態度を取れば当然現場の彼らは面白く感じるわけがない。
But on the other hand, if the staff officer looks down on the folks in the field with an arrogant attitude, it won't be amused. They won't be amused.
まして自分の点数稼ぎのために彼らの手柄や名声を横取りするようなことがあったら、誰もその命令に従ったりしなくなる。
And if there are times where you steal their fame and accomplishments to earn points for yourself, people will stop following your command.
だからスタッフは常に裏方として、表には出ない存在であらねばならない。
So, staff officer must remain behind the scenes, out of sight.
うまくいけば、華々しい手柄や名声はすべて彼らのもの。
If things go well, credit is all theirs.
俺たちスタッフは黙ってその祝勝会から去るだけさ。
You just silently leave the victory celebration.
見ない。
Minai,
そういう生き方。
how do you
お
feel
前は
about
どう感じる？
how do you feel about that way of life?
自分が前に立たなければ気が済まないか？
Would you be unsatisfied if you're not standing at the forefront?
それとも組織のため、そして何か別の大きなもののために無視になれるか？
Or can you do something selfless for the sake of the organization, for the sake of something larger?
私は
I...
ま、暇な時にでも考えてみるといいさ。
well, something to think about in your spare time.
そんじゃ俺は次の打ち合わせがある。
Anyway, I have another meeting to attend.
お前はゆっくり休め。お疲れさん。
You get a good rest now. You deserve it. After saying that, Mino-san left the break room. I watched him from behind as he went, and then silently gazed up at the ceiling for a while longer. A 6 on the dice, right? Wait, did we just read Gone with the Ashes? No. Gone with the Ashes was... Why am I already... Wait, receipt and ticket. 6 on... Receipt and ticket. Gone with the Ashes. This is what we just read. This was a long one. That's why I'm thrown off, I think. I'm so thrown off by... Yeah, okay, we're good. I was like... one of those, please. These, please. I noticed the magazine at the store counter with only one copy left, so I grabbed it and paid the cashier. Then I put the change in the receipt in my wallet and spread the magazine open while walking toward the ticket gate.
今月号買い逃して諦めてたんだけど、
I missed buying this month's issue and pretty much gave up on it.
こんなところで見つかるなんてラッキーかも。
I'm so lucky to find it in a place like this. I flipped through the magazine I always subscribed to as I muttered that to myself and found my favorite special feature page. They say it's bad manners to read a magazine while walking, but I just couldn't wait and had to check it.
今週の運勢は、
What's my fortune for this week?
よかった。
Thank goodness. I was filled with anxiety and anticipation as I turned the page, and when I saw what was written in my column of the horoscope, I couldn't help but jump up and cheer. The horoscope results show 90% luck! Is it just a coincidence, or am I really that lucky? My good luck charm was actually in my bag right now. The contents were a good omen, so somehow my mood started feeling cheerier. Fortune telling may be nothing but nonsense. But hearing such a proclamation of good luck right before I'm about to meet Reina brought me so much happiness, and gave me more and more courage to meet up with her. I took a small package out of my bag and gave it a look. It's a present in a cute gift bag for when I meet Reina. I thought I bought it to show proof of how much I care about her. I wanted to reconcile with her. I wonder if she'll like it. Or rather, I wonder if I'll even be able to hand it over to her. Fear and anxiety, combined with a hint of anger and sorrow, made me feel lost and hesitant, even now, trying to drag my feelings down to the darkest depths. But I'm going. I definitely will meet Reina. I said that to myself so many times to inspire my timid heart, while marching forward one step at a time. It'll be alright. Even the horoscope said I'd have good luck. Besides, I spoke with Reina on the phone just the other day. I could only hear her words, but her voice and tone were enough to convey her feelings to me, right? I want to meet you again.
よし。
Alright. I let out a light shout as I raised my head, then put the magazine in my bag and headed to the ticket gate. If I head to Omaki, there's a highway bus that leaves from there. It'll take just a few hours that way. And then I'll be able to meet Reina and...
あれ？
Huh? That moment, I noticed a ticket fall from the pocket of the man walking in front of me. But he didn't seem to notice because he kept walking forward at a steady pace. I hesitated for a moment, then ran and picked it up. When I caught up right behind him, I braced myself and called out to him.
すみません。
Excuse me?
これ落としましたよ。
Did you drop this? Huh?
ああ、こりゃどうも。
Oh, thanks.
あれ？
Huh? The man smiled as he grabbed the ticket, but when he caught a look at my face, he seemed a little surprised. I don't recognize him. Could I have met him somewhere before?
何か。
What is it?
いや、ひょっとしてあなたは尾崎渚さんですか？
Oh, could it be that you're Nagisa Ozaki-san?
そうですけど。
Well, yes. After hearing him say my name, I suddenly braced myself. Why does this man know my name?
ああ、すみません。唐突で失礼しました。
Oh, sorry for asking that all of a sudden.
実は私、南井警部の部下でして、あなたにお伝えしたいことがあって、今からご自宅にお伺いする予定だったんですよ。
I actually work under Chief Inspector Minai, and there was something I wanted to tell you, so I was planning to visit you at your home.
南井さんの？
Minai-san?
ということは刑事さんですか？
Then are you a detective?
ええ、そうです。
Yes, that's right.
ああ、これ手帳です。
Oh, here's my badge.
信用していただけましたか？
You can trust me, alright? Perhaps concerned about the huge crowd of people in the station, the man very quickly pulled his badge out of his breast pocket and discreetly showed it to me. That was definitely the emblem of the police force. and it was reassuring to learn that this man knew Minai-san's name, so I lowered my guard and turned to him.
それでミナイさんが私に何か。
So, did Minai-san need something from me?
先日警部宛てにお電話されましたよね。
You left a message for her the other day, didn't you?
それを聞いた警部の命令で私がお迎えに上がったんです。
When she heard it, she asked me to go pick you up.
要件は直接話したいとのことでしたので、内容はちょっとわからないのですが。
She wanted to speak with you directly about something, but I don't know the details.
ミナイさんが私に。
Minai-san wanted to talk to me?
と。
I wasn't sure what to do, so I hesitated to reply. I was supposed to get on a bus right after this and head to Hinamizawa today, but Minai-san is always so busy, so I'd be sorry to turn her down when she was willing to spare some time for me. And if I miss this opportunity, it might be a long ways out before I can meet her again. It can't be helped. I was actually planning to arrive at the meeting spot early to give myself time to calm down, but let's take a detour. Plus, Minai-san might be able to give me some good advice ahead of my meeting with Reina. And if I do end up running late, maybe they'd even drive me there in a police car. Just kidding.
わかりました。
Understood.
でもこの後出かける予定があるので、その時間まででもよろしいですか？
But I do have plans later, so I can't stay past that time, okay?
はい、結構です。
Yes, that's fine.
ご協力感謝します。それでは。
I appreciate your cooperation. Let's set out then. Big energy. A 6 on the dice. A natural 6.
それじゃあ我々の勝利を祝して乾杯。
Kanpai. Alright, here's to our victory. Cheers!
乾杯。
Cheers! We all held up our full beer glasses and sang out, following Mano-san's lead. The contents spilled out a bit, but none of us were particularly concerned. Gulp, gulp, ha!
いやー、この寒い時期に冷えたビールってのはなかなかおつだな。
Man, cold beer in this cold season is pretty nice.
こう首の後ろがキャーッと引き締まるっていうか、鍋の熱気を中和して何杯でもいけそうだぜ。
With this tension in the back of my neck, it neutralizes the hot air coming from the pot, so I can drink as many cups as I'd like.
だからって飲みすぎないでくださいね。
Still, don't drink too much, alright?
今日は私も飲んでいますから、ご自宅には送っていけませんよ。
I'm drinking too, so I can't drive you home today.
わかってるってのはしつこいな。
I know. Man, you're persistent.
今日はそんなにビール飲まねえよ。
I won't drink that much today.
おいおかみ、熱燗3本だ。
Hey, hostess, 3 more of hot sake.
カーッと胸の奥から燃えたぎるようなやつを頼ま。
Bring me something that'll make my heart feel like it's on fire.
日本酒飲んでたら一緒じゃないですか、もう。
Just because you're drinking sake doesn't mean we need to drink it together.
お二人さん、いいコンビですね。
The two of you make a nice pair. The man sitting across from us, Chief Soma of NRIPS, curiously watched our interactions while opening another beer bottle. When I noticed that, I quickly took the bottle and said, "Here you go," while filling his glass.
ああ、どうも。気が利くね。
Ah, thanks. You're so considerate.
ちょっと前野さん、あんまり年下の女性をいじめちゃいけませんよ。
Now, Mino-san, you shouldn't bully a younger woman, you know.
ただでさえあなたは部下や関係者への当たりが厳しいって評判なんですから。
And to make it worse, you have a reputation of being extremely strict with your subordinates and colleagues.
調子に乗ってると人事から突っ込まれて、また左門会にかけられますよ。
You should lighten up on her. You'll end up in another HR inquiry meeting.
失礼な、いじめてねえよ。
How rude. I'm not bullying.
そりゃもう俺は未来に対しては、親が子に接するように優しく海外しく、そして真摯に。
In fact, I treat Minai the way a parent would treat their child. Gently, patiently, and sincerely.
あんたまだ独身でしょうが。
You're You're still single, aren't you?
まあ親子という例えは確かにその通りです。
Well, the parent-child analogy does hold true.
もっともライオンの親子に近い関係ですが、
But it's closer to a lion's parent-child relationship.
先人の谷に叩き落としてしごき鍛えられてるってか？
Knocking your cubs to the bottom of a ravine for the sake of their training?
そりゃいい。イメージぴったりだ。
That's great. What a perfect mental image.
おお、見ない。
Oh, Minai.
なんだったら本気で谷底に蹴落としてやってもいいんだぞ。
Are you saying it's fair for me to actually kick you to the bottom of a valley? When I saw Mino-san cut in with a half-teasing, half-serious look on his face. Just a little while ago, I was frightened when he stared at me like this, but now I'd built up enough of a tolerance I could even laugh through it. Plus, Mino-san was tough when it came to work, and he'd give a stern scolding anytime I overlooked something. But if you keep calm and think through all his points, every single one of them is conscientious and accurate. His strict approach and warnings were his way of expressing his high expectations in others. After I understood that, I disregarded the concerns of many people at the public relations office and started being proactive. So, even if the parent-child relationship is slightly overstating it, it's more like a brother-sister relationship between siblings of a large age gap. Is it selfish of me to see it that way?
ただ今夜だけは。
But, just for tonight, I wanted to go back to the old times, just a little, so I intentionally pretended to be ill-tempered. Seeming to realize that, Mino-san had a slight wry smile on his face and leaned his face closer to look at me from below.
なんだ見ない。
What's that, Minai?
お前まだ怒ってるのか？
Are you still angry?
別に怒ってませんよ。
No, I'm not particularly upset.
怒ってないけど、ちょっとだけ騙された気分で傷ついてるだけです。
Just a little hurt about being deceived.
おいおい。騙したなんて人聞きの悪い。
Deceived? Why, I'm hurt.
俺がお前に嘘なんて言ったか？
Did I ever lie to you?
嘘は言ってませんけど、本当のことも言ってくれなかったじゃないですか。
You may not have lied to me, but you did abstain from telling me the truth, didn't you?
だいたい前野さんと相馬さんがお知り合いだったなんて、私今日初めて聞きましたよ。
Mino-san, you and Soma-san are already acquainted, yet today was the first I'd heard of it?
しかも大学の同じゼミの先輩後輩の関係なんて思いっきり身内じゃないですか。
And not just that, but you attended the same college at the same time, and had a senior-junior relationship with one another. You're practically family.
あれ前に言ってなかったっけか？
Huh? Didn't I tell you that before?
いや、すまん。忘れてたわ。
Sorry, I must have forgotten. What a bald-faced lie. He must have intentionally kept silent because he wanted to tease me and make me think I had enemies on all sides when I desperately pleaded with NRIPS to win their cooperation. Looking back on it now, Soma-san always spoke up at just the right time during the presentation, trying to set up the atmosphere in the room to give us an advantage. In other words, I was completely taken in by Mino-san's plan. I was writhing in agony even though our victory was practically assured from the start.
私、あのプレゼンで生きた心地がしなかったんですよ。
You know how miserable I felt during that presentation?
私より年配の、それもスキルと知識がはるか上の偉い人たちにプロファイリング分析の必要性と協力の要請をするなんて、まさしく社会に説法な気分だったんですから。
Making me explain the necessity of profiling analysis to people older than me, top brass people far more skilled and knowledgeable than me, and asking for their help, felt like I was teaching fish to swim.
自分が知ったかぶった態度をとってるんじゃないかって、どれだけ気恥ずかしかったか。
Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to know that you're carrying on with that sly attitude?
ああ、確かに。あれは見物だったよな。
Yes, it certainly was a sight to behold.
プロファイリング分析の細かいところに突っ込みを入れたら、懸命に動揺を隠そうとしながら返答を絞り出そうとしているのがバレバレですさ。
Once you were interrogated on the finer details of profile analysis, you were clearly trying to hide your agitation while squeezing out the answers.
正直、こっちも笑いをこらえるのが大変だったよ。
To be honest, it was hard to keep myself from laughing.
相馬さんもひどいです。
You too, Soma-san? You're terrible.
私だって絶対皆さんの方がお詳しいって分かっていましたけど、だったら あの時私をからかっていたんですか？
I figured you knew more than everyone else, but even you were making fun of me all this time?
私、相馬さんたちからご指摘を受けるたびに自分の勉強不足が申し訳なくて、本当に。
Soma-san, every time you and the others pointed something out, I seriously felt terrible about my insufficient study.
まあまあ、確かに少し遊びが過ぎたかもしれんな。
Well, it's true that we may have gotten a little carried away.
だが逆にそれが良かったのさ。
But on the other hand, things went well. As he said that, Mino-san collected the hot sake that the waitress had just brought, then handed a glass to Soma-san and another to me, with a cheerful smile on his face. Then he filled his glass. Then he filled each glass one by one, before turning to me with a broad grin.
プロファイリング分析の手法は、科警研が数年前から目をつけていた。
NRIPS has been following profile analysis techniques for several years now.
俺も相馬から何度かその関連の話を聞かされて、本当にそれが確立されれば、事件捜査の革新的な進歩があり得るという期待を持ったもんだ。
Someone has even spoken to me about it several times in the past. We do expect a revolutionary advancement in investigation process if it can become well established.
そして茨城県警の本庄さんが意見交流会で発表したプロファイリングについての論文は、その発端になり得るものではと思えるほどに興味深いものだった。
And a paper Honjo-san of Ibaraki Prefectural Police submitted at a meeting drummed up enough interest to get things started. But even though they reached the consensus that it would be necessary to test it in the field, they never put it into practice, because NRIPS doesn't have the authority to put together an organization to handle the proposal. Thus, there are no framework for establishing who was in charge in the field and who was responsible. Plus, the connection between NRIPS and field investigators was worse than non-existent. It was negative. Thanks to that, both sides resented one another for getting in the way of their work or stealing the credit for their accomplishments, so it'd be impossible to clear up those doubts.
だからこそ、スタッフ系ではなく、現場出身の元刑事が提案し、そして実践に移す手段を持ちかけてきたとき、俺たちはむしろ喝采を上げたのさ。
That's why we all cheered when we heard the person who came up with the means to put into practice wasn't some desk jockey, but a detective with prior field experience.
俺たちがどれだけ言葉を尽くして正論を並べ立てても、現場との壁はそう簡単には打ち破ることができない。
No matter how exhaustingly we explained the theories behind it, the wall between us and the field couldn't be broken so easily.
だが、見ない警部。
But, Chief Inspector Minai,
警察庁上層部からのお達しに加えて、現場刑事たちに近いお前さんが橋渡し役を務めるというのなら、おそらく彼らも無下にはせずに耳を傾けてくれるだろう。
not only do you have reach with the upper echelons of the MPA, but you're also close to the field detectives, so they'd probably be willing to listen to you, and you can act as the bridge between.
テレビ局との提携も確実性と秘密主義にこだわりすぎて、自情自爆に陥っていた科警研には必要な刺激だった。
The tie-in with the TV stations was also a necessary motivator for NRIPS, who had shot themselves in the foot with their obsession with secrecy and reliability.
その可能性に俺たちはかけたんだよ。
So, we bet on this possibility.
相馬さん。
Soma-san,
その期待にお前さんは十分すぎるほど応えてくれた。
and you've more than met those expectations.
ありがとうな、見ない警部。
Thank you, Chief Inspector Minai.
仲間の分まで感謝させてくれ。
And let me thank you on behalf of my colleagues as well. Soma-san gave me a gentle look as he raised his glass in hand. When I first met him, he seemed stiff, prideful, and hard to reach, but he didn't alter his behavior at all just because I was younger or female, so I was honestly impressed by his sincere attitude.
まあ、お前さんから提供された資料を読んだ時から、科警研の所長と総務部長は今回の提案に対して賛成するつもりでいたそうだ。
Well, ever since they read the material prepared for this proposal, the director of NRIPS and the general manager are already going to agree to it.
もちろんそれは、本庄さんのネームバリューと、それ以上に官房長の口利きがあったことが大きかったんだがな。
Of course, that was largely due to Hanjo-san's name being attached, the commissioner's influence making a big deal out of it.
そして現場の主任クラスでそれなりに発言力のある奴らには、相馬が事前に根回ししてくれていた。
And Soma negotiated in advance to have him speaking power with someone on the chief level out in the field. negotiated in advance.
実際のところ出来レースだとお前は不快に思うかもしれないほどに状況は俺たちにとってフォローだったのさ。
In fact, we had such a strong tailwind behind us, I might be uncomfortable calling it a fair race.
光栄です。
I'm honored.
ですが皆さんのそこまでのご好意に甘えて頼り切ってしまってなんだか申し訳ないです。
But I'm also sorry for having come to rely on all the kindness you provided.
結局私は何もできず皆さんのお気遣いに乗っかっただけで。
In the end, I couldn't do anything. I was just riding on the compassion of others.
そこまで自分を卑下するな、ミナイ。
No need to be so humble, Minai.
俺たちはお前が頼りないから支援したわけじゃない。
We didn't choose to support you because we thought you needed it.
お前が俺たちの息をしっかり理解できるやつだと見込んだからこそ遠慮なく力を貸したんだ。
We helped you without any hesitation because we fully expect you to be capable of carrying out our will.
その点についてはしっかり胸を張れ。
And for that, you should be proud.
え
Huh?
責任と覚悟を持つ心構えは確かに大事だ。
Responsibility and conviction are certainly important things to have.
そしてそれを他人に訴えかけるためにはやはり本人が努力している姿を見せるしかないだろ
And you can only get through to others by demonstrating that you're capable of making the necessary effort.
う。だがな、それは自分一人で全てを背負わなきゃいけないってことじゃない。
But that doesn't mean you need to carry the burden all on your own.
得意分野は誰かに任せて自分は自分にできることを全力でやる。
Leave others to handle their area of expertise and just do the best you can.
初めから他力本願は良くないが自分一人でできる範囲も量もたかだか知れているってことを忘れるな。
It's wrong to depend on others from the start, but never forget that there's only so much you can do entirely on your own.
前野さん
Maino-san,
それに勘違いしないでくれよ。
and please don't misunderstand.
俺たちはお前さんに振り回されたんじゃない。むしろ振り回すんだ。
Don't think that we're being swayed by you. We're actually acting of our own accord.
ずっと今まで変えたいと思っていたことを実現するためにな。
This is for the sake of making a change we always dreamed of a reality.
だから引け目になるな。堂々としていけ。
So don't feel inferior. Be proud.
そしてこれから先も俺たちの期待に応えてみせろ。
And continue living up to our expectations.
それがお前さんにできる一番の貢献だよ。
That is the very best thing you can do to contribute.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Maino-san, Soma-san, your words are so warm. I've been doing my utmost to persuade the researchers at NRIPS. That's why I eschewed sleep to desperately work on compiling these materials. If I failed, I'd be betraying the kindness and support that Maino-san, the commissioner, the director, and everyone else, and everyone had shown to me, so I continue to feel that heavy responsibility of that. But the truth is, these great people around me are doing this exhausting work for their sake as well. Thank you. And I'm sorry. What a stunted, arrogant way of thinking, believing I had to do something so huge all my own.
とはいえ見ない警部。
Although, Chief Inspector Minai,
これからがさらに大変だぞ。
from now on things are going to get even more difficult.
お前は現場の捜査員やその責任者に掛け合って今回のプロジェクトに力を貸してもらえるよう頼んで回らなきゃいけないんだからな。
You'll need to talk to investigators in the field and the people in charge of them, convincing them to support your project.
むしろこれからの方が大変かもしれない。
I think that'll be far harder than this.
現場の連中は抱えている事件だけでも手一杯だから得体の知れない依頼や要請には当然難色を示すはずだ。
The on-site investigators have their hands full with plenty of casework, so needless to say, they'll be hesitant to agree on any unfamiliar requests and demands.
思っているほどに簡単なものじゃないぞ。
Getting through to them is not as easy as you might think.
心します。
I'll take that to heart.
甘えることなく今回のように当たって砕ける覚悟で説得に臨みます。
I won't go easy. I'll hit them with everything I've got and persuade them. For a moment, I thought to myself, I already know that, but I wasn't about to say that. Because answering that way would be making light of Maino-san's thoughtful advice.
おお、来た来た。待ってましたよ。
Oh, it's here. I've been waiting. Just then, the waitress walked in with the hot pot ingredients, as if she could read the atmosphere of the room. Mino-san cheered as he grabbed it, and then tossed it into the pot without any hesitation.
フグ鍋か。
Pufferfish hot pot, huh? This was actually my first time eating pufferfish. I'm a little worried about getting poisoned, but if I said anything about it, Mino-san and Soma-san would seriously laugh at me.
本当は俺がぜひともタッチしたかったんですがね。
Honestly, I really wanted to play a hands-on role.
残念ながら今結構な数の事件鑑識の依頼が重なっててちょっと無理っぽいんですよ。
But unfortunately, there are a lot of requests for forensic investigations nowadays, so it's kind of impossible for me.
今後お手伝いできるのはせいぜい下準備くらいですかね。
So I guess the only thing I can help you with going forward is preliminary arrangements.
ま、できるやつに仕事が集まるのは仕方ないさ。
Well, it's inevitable that the work piles up for the capable.
で、担当は誰になりそうだ？
So, who will be in charge of things then?
おそらく能力的に適しているということで大内主任じゃないかと。
The person most suitable for the task is probably Chief Ouchi.
もっとも若干温情人事も関わっているみたいですがね。
Although it seems personal affairs is giving it some consideration.
大内か。
Ouchi, huh?
せめて岸とか山辺あたりならいろいろ進めやすかったんだが、あいつはどうも自分を過信してるところがちょっとな。
He does at least have a lot of experience in many fields, but it concerns me how overconfident he is in himself.
大丈夫とは言い切れませんね。
Well, can't say it'll be alright.
もっとも現場の捜査員たちと積極的に接点を持たない限り多分問題ないでしょう。
But as long as he's not actively dealing with the investigators in the field, there probably won't be any problems.
そのあたりは調整役の見ない警部の働きに期待って感じですかね。
I'm expecting Chief Inspector Minai to play an active role as the coordinator on that front.
あとは
Plus, while half listening to the conversation between the two of them, I opened the lid on the pot and gazed at it while feeling distant. Until a few months ago, I thought there was nobody as unlucky as me, but the truth is, I've had an incredible series of good luck. Mino-san, Soma-san, the Commissioner's Secretariat, the Director of NRIPS, and Hanjo-san. I was blessed with so many excellent and influential supporters, it was scary. My hand trembled as I held the ladle. I feel like I barely read. Looking at the current situation, yes. It was like being passed a set of dice and rolling a 6 over and over. On the other hand, I'm wondering what unexpected pitfalls are waiting beyond this good fortune. That small anxiety floated to mind, stabbing at my thoughts. But I have no time for fear or hesitation. I need to move forward. I've decided I'll keep going.
渚さん、
Nagisa-san?
まだまだクリアするものは多いけど、なんとか頑張れそうよ。
There's still so many things I need to accomplish, but I think I can do it.
待っててね。
So please, wait a little longer. Okay. What is next? The conspiracy has started to move. Move your body freely.
もしもし。
Hello?
ええ、私よ。
Yes, it's me.
例の和製ジャンヌ・ダルクちゃんのその後の様子はいかがかしら？
How is the situation with this Japanese Joan of Arc?
まさかただの好奇心よ。
Not at all, just curious.
別に怖いわけでもないわ。
There's nothing to be all that afraid of.
そっちではなんだか大げさなことになってるみたいだけど、私たちの研究計画の差し障りとまではならなそうだしね。
It appears things are getting a little out of hand over there, but doesn't seem to impact our research plans.
警察といっても、所詮は法律の枠内でしか力を発揮できないただの公務員。
Even if the police get involved, civil servants can only exercise their power within their framework, the framework of the law.
それを支配するご主人様に対しては、おとなしく神戸を垂れて尻尾を振る奴らの集まりよ。
They're just a group of people hanging their heads and wagging their tails for the master controlling them.
そんなパワーゲームの中でどこまで頑張れるか、お手並み拝見ってところかしら。
I'm interested in seeing just how much can be accomplished in this power game.
それで今はどんな感じ？
So, how are things at the moment?
通常ならそろそろ言動とか見かけとかに変化が出てきてもおかしくないんだけど、何か変化はあったかしら？
It wouldn't be strange to see unusual changes in behavior or appearance under normal circumstances, but have there been any changes?
そう。
I see.
見たところ、取り立てて激しい躁鬱も見られず、仕事ぶりにも変わったところはなし。
So no signs of extreme manic depression were observed, nor any changes in work lifestyle.
周囲の評判も良好ね。
And her reputation among surrounding people is favorable, is it?
ますます興味深いわ。
This is getting more and more interesting.
よっぽど入江所長の改良した治療薬が体に適合していたのかしら。
Perhaps Dr. Irie's improved medication was compatible with her body?
ええ、そうよ。
Yes, that's right.
症状が末期に至る前兆として、まず周囲の反応に対して猜疑心が強くなる。
As the symptoms reach the final stage, one's distrust of their surroundings grows even stronger.
ちょっとした冗談や失言が自分の存在価値を否定する悪意や敵意に思えてきてね。
A light joke or a slip of the tongue can be interpreted as malice or hostility that denies your reason for existence.
いわゆる不安神経症って言えばいいのかしら。
It might be appropriate to call it anxiety neurosis.
そのうちありもしない存在や言動を妄想するようになって思考が混乱し精神が錯綜状態に陥る。
Eventually, they begin to delude things that don't exist. So their thoughts get confused until their psyche falls into a state of total chaos.
そこにはもう理性も本能もないわ。
At that point, reason and instinct are completely gone.
ただひたすら錯乱し現実と虚構がぐちゃぐちゃになった状態から必死に逃れようとあがき苦しみ、そして絶望へと至る。
They become bewildered and desperately attempt to escape from the mess of intermingled reality and fiction, leading to despair and suffering.
末期症状に至った時の様子はなかなかに見ものよ。
And when they finally reach the terminal stage, it's quite a sight to behold, isn't it?
もうそれは人間じゃない。そうね、はっきり言ってしまえば化け物でしょうね。
They're no longer human at that point. Yes, to describe them as a monster would be more,
あ
That's
ら
true. Oh?
そんなに私面白がっているように聞こえるかしら。
It sounds like I find pleasure in this. Question mark?
そんなことはないわよ。
That's not so.
私はただ学術的に知りたいだけなの。
I just want to study it academically.
青臭い正義感と綺麗事だらけを並べ立てた信念とやらにすがって邁進するエリートさんが醜くて汚い現実に直面して無力感に絶望した時、どんな風に変わるのか。
When an elite pushing forward with whitewashing and naive ideas of justice has to experience the ugly and dirty face of reality and despairs over their helplessness, how will it change them?
ほら、よく言うでしょ。
Come on, you know what they say.
高尚な理想と願望を持って勉学に励んでいた輩ほど、その素敵な夢が踏みにじられると自暴自棄になって愚かな暴挙や現実逃避に走るものだと。
The harder you study your lofty ideals and aspirations, when that wonderful dream is trampled on, you become desperate and turn to crass violence or escapism.
そのジャンヌ・ダルクちゃん、いえ、女ドン・キホーテと呼んだ方がいいかしらね。
Like this Joan of Arc. No, maybe it'd be better to call her female Don Quixote.
その子が戦っていた悪魔がただの風車で信じていた正義が実に脆くて惨めなものだったと知った後、どんな行動に出るのか。
After realizing that the demon she was fighting was nothing but a windmill, and coming to understand that the justice she believed in could be so miserable and fragile, just what will she do?
ひょっとしたら末期発症を引き起こした状態で錯乱して街中で大暴れするかもね。
Perhaps the subsequent confusion will lead to the onset of terminal symptoms. Maybe she'll go rampaging through the town.
エリート警官、ストレスから精神を病んで婿の市民を虐殺なんて結末、想像しただけでも楽しそうだとは思わない？
An elite police officer massacring innocent citizens due to stress-induced mental illness. Isn't an ending like that just fun to imagine? Ho, 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 ho.
そんなわけだから引き続き監視をよろしくね。
So with that said, please continue the surveillance.
野村さんにもくれぐれとお伝えして。
Yes, yes, please let Nomura-san know too.
それじゃ
Goodbye.
見ない友へ。
Tomoe Minai. Huh? It was a strange feeling. Not quite as strong as Uncle Koizumi, but still backed by state power. She possesses no particular elements that could prove an obstacle to executing the plan. Even with the police force united, it'd be difficult for a small girl to discover the heart of their organization, no matter what gallant show of heroism she put on. No, it's impossible. Besides, even in the unlikely event that the situation turns precarious in the current climate, it's our opponents in the Okuno and Chiba factions who will suffer the most direct damage, not us. Thus, we can safely ignore any such movements. There shouldn't be anything to worry about at all, and yet... I suddenly looked at the desk and saw the medical records for Tomoe Minai. In addition to the blood test results from when she came to Hinamazawa half a year ago, the report also summarized her personal information. Detailed in there was the history of losing her parents in a fire, and her police career all the way from the academy up to the present day, and reading it gave me a strange feeling that something was out of place. No, that's not it. It wasn't that something was out of place. In fact, it was the opposite. Yes, it was deja vu. She lost her parents and everything she had in an absurd accident, and despite being pushed down to the depths of misery, she crawled her way up in order to succeed the will of the deceased, with the stubbornness of a weed. We're the same. Our circumstances were disgustingly similar, and when I thought about that, the indescribable emotion I was feeling was exacerbated even further against my wishes.
くだらない。本当にくだらないわ。
How ridiculous. How truly ridiculous. I shook my head and tossed the report in the desk drawer. So be it. The victor and the outcome are obvious anyway, so it's fine to let you keep struggling. But know this, Missy. I commend you for the hardships you've overcome and the courage and valor you've displayed, but there's one thing you need to remember. I will never acknowledge you. Never. Well, okay then. Mystery question mark, question mark, question mark. I have no idea who it is. Incident Report 1. Incident Report 1, female student indiscriminate assault incident. This document contains confidential information and is not to be disclosed to the public. Number 1, occurrence, April 1982. Location, Ibaraki Prefecture, blank city, blank junior high. 3, overview. Local residents submit a report to Ibaraki Prefectural Police HQ's communication center, stating that they had heard students screaming and the sound of something breaking on the premises of blank junior high. As a result, blank station dispatched 2 officers from the blank city local police box who were the closest to the scene of the incident. When one of them arrived at the scene, they were guided by a student to a hallway on the first floor of the school building and discovered female student A who was being pinned down by 3 PE teachers near the doorway. Due to the presence of a bloody bat on the floor beside the subject, police officers concluded that violent assault had occurred and decided to arrest the offender immediately. However, school vice principal blank and the guidance counselor blank protested and insisted that student A be moved to the school infirmary for immediate treatment. Additionally, another police officer was guided by a female student named blank to the back of a storehouse Near the pool, where 3 male students were discovered writhing in agony with bloody wounds on their heads. The officer determined that they had suffered dangerous levels of blood loss, so they used their radio to call in an ambulance, and the students were transported to the nearby redacted hospital. After that, the 2 officers engaged in discussion with the teachers in the health room, where they argued about the negative impact an arrest can have on a minor, so the officers abandoned plans to arrest the offender. Student A was handed off to Blank Station Youth Department's head investigator for arbitration. 4. Damage. There are 5 victims in total. In addition to 3 boys who were seriously injured, 1 female student and 1 PE teacher suffered mild injuries. 5. Questioning. Student A refused to make any statements while being questioned by the youth department investigator. In addition to questions about the incident, she even kept quiet on topics of mundane small talk. Furthermore, student A's medical history revealed that she had been visiting a psychiatrist since a year ago. In response to that, student A was transferred to redacted General Hospital Psychiatry Department. Based on the counseling physician's diagnosis of student A is in an imbalanced mental state. The youth division decided to take a wait-and-see approach rather than sending her for prosecution. This information was deemed sensitive by the request of the Ministry of Education, and the National Police Agency's Public Relations Office has determined that it will not be released to the mass media. 6. Addendum. The cause and motive for the incident is still unknown. Counseling physicians suggest that it may be due to stress in family life and academics, but no confirmation was ever obtained. Also, it was found what redacted and the male students were talking about before the incident occurred. According to the testimony of female student redacted, they were discussing performances for the school's cultural festival in a few months. The planned performance was setting up a haunted house influenced by ghost stories from rural towns. Additionally, the most seriously injured of the 3, Blank, was to be the leader of the performance, and student A's friend, Blank, was assisting. According to Blank, although student A was enthusiastic about creating the haunted house at first, she became apprehensive when she found out they'd be basing it on real stories, and she pleaded with Blank to reconsider. Questioning with Blank still ongoing to determine the precise details of this discussion. So many blanks, so much redacted information. We couldn't possibly know everything that goes in there. Incident Report 2. Incident Report 2, series of mysterious deaths in Ibaraki and Aichi. Due to the ongoing investigation, some information is not to be disclosed to the public. Number 1 occurrence. First incident, Saturday, October 2nd, 1982, around 4 p.m. Second incident, Sunday, October 24th, 1982, around 11 p.m. Third incident, Friday, October 29th, 1982, around 3 p.m. 2. Location. First incident, Ibaraki Prefecture, Blank Hospital, Psychiatric Ward. Second incident, Aichi Prefecture, Omaki City, XX National Highway. And third incident, Narita International Airport Lobby. 3. Overview. First incident, a patient being treated at the Ibaraki Prefecture, Blank General Hospital, Psychiatric Ward. Kohei Sawamura, 13, fell from the window of a hospital room and died immediately. Second incident, a resident of Omaki City, Nagisa Ozaki, 13, was hit by a truck on a national highway and died immediately. Third incident, a passenger planning to board a plane bound for Macau, Yoko Hiranuma, 37, suddenly began making strange noises before killing herself with a fruit knife. 4. Going forward, at first glance, these 3 cases occurred in different locations and seem unrelated. However, there are many unusual points in the situation, including the fact that the patient, his friend, he was allegedly dating, and the nurse in charge of his hospitalization all died within a month. And furthermore, the autopsy of Yoko Hiranuma's body revealed that a certain chemical substance mixed with alcohol was found in her throat and stomach. According to analysts at the National Research Institute of Police Science, even though it was impossible to determine the precise identity of the drug, some of the components in it did have a psychological effect. A joint investigation team has been formed consisting of the National Police Agency, Aichi Prefectural Police HQ, and the National Research Institute of Police Science, and they are currently investigating any potential connection between these incidents. Ooh. We might read this last one on this page and then call it a night. I feel like my tiredness is affecting my reading ability. I know it's only technically like a little left after this, but I think what we'll do is I'll read this, we'll call it a night, and then first thing tomorrow night before we play DK, I'll read these. And so we'll do a 2-part, like, weird Wednesday night thing. To just knock these out. It probably won't be long is the thing, but we'll just do it. We'll just do it. Fragment of Toki Higurashi. At first glance, this fragment seems to have no connection to the world of Rika Frude, and only seems to explore the thoughts of certain other girls. But, even though nobody realized it, it's essential for grasping a very important truth that otherwise couldn't be noticed. 1 year before the tragedy, in 1982, when Satoshi disappeared, and when the Rikas were fretting about how to escape the dead end approaching in the following year, a certain female detective came to visit Hinamizawa. And the being that earned her attention was one of the club members, Rina Ryugu. It was because of the assault case from back when she lived in Ibaraki. Most of the club members were unaware of that fact. Even Keshi didn't know the exact cause. But Reina used to be taking certain red pills. The drug was part of a plot that Rika and even Takano were unaware of, and she fell victim to it. In order to unravel the truth, Detective Tomoe Manai overcame many difficulties and stood up. In response to that, the light of hope, which had been faintly shining so far, became so strong it could be seen clearly. And from that light, something that even I didn't know existed came into view. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave these last. Now, these are just a fragment of blank and a fragment of blank. So, like, these probably go by quickly. There's a chance we turn this on tomorrow, and it's, like, just, like, maybe at most, like, half an hour of reading, you know? But I'm also, like I said, I'm tired, and I don't want to start reading one of these, and it to secretly reveal itself to be, like, another hour of reading. Like, I don't think I'd be able to make it. So... I'm just gonna hold on. We'll hold on to it tomorrow. We'll do DK will be the main thing tomorrow, but we'll just finish these before that. As long as I remember I'm saying that. As long as I remember that I'm saying that now. There's a small chance that I forget that I'm saying that now. But yeah, we'll just leave these. It'll be fine. It'll be some light reading before we get into just mindless Donkey Kong punching and thrashing about, you know? Alright. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna try to get some extra sleep. I've been sleeping well past few days, unfortunately. So bad. You have a nice rest of your night. It's early. Do something with the remaining hours here. Or, also go to bed yourself. Get some extra sleep. See what it does for you. Maybe it'll... Nah, let's be real. It probably won't do anything much extra. But anyway, I'm going to head out. Tomorrow, DK. A little bit of reading beforehand here to finish this up. Connecting fragments. Until then,